Obesity. Just the mere mention of the word evokes a certain response in people. It has become a major problem across America. Some would say it's gotten to epidemic proportions. It is no different here in the state of Oklahoma. But what is probably a surprising fact is how it affects our children. Child obesity rates have soared. Almost 14% of our children aged 2 to 4 are considered obese, and that stat rises with age. In the state of Oklahoma, almost 34% of children aged 10 through 17 years old are obese. That is a staggering number. That means 1 out of every kid you see in Oklahoma in that age range is obese and struggles with weight issues. But a more eye-opening and truly concerning statistic is that over 80% of those who have childhood obesity carry it into adulthood. What I would like to do today is discuss some ideas and propose some solutions about how we can combat this clear and evident problem that is childhood obesity. But before we get to that, let's talk about what it means to be obese, how it affects children not only while they are younger, but also what it means growing into adulthood as an obese child and the potential dangers that it represents. So the first question has to be, what does it take to be considered obese? What is the definition of obese? According to medicinenet.com, obesity is defined as having a BMI or body mass index of 30 and above. That would be approximately 30 pounds. Now, the BMI is how we relate a person's weight to their height. So if you wanted to figure out a person's BMI, here's how you'd go about that. It's a measurement of a person's weight in kilograms divided by their height in meters squared. I know that sounds like a mathematical equation in metric terms, which is instantly off-putting to us Americans because we lack our pounds and feet and inches. But I assure you, it's a pretty easy formula to figure out. And with the help of pretty much any cell phone calculator, you could easily translate kilograms to pounds and meters to feet and inches. But that is basically how obesity is defined and recognized, the BMI. So the question becomes, how does this affect children? From a mental point of view, children who are obese are more likely to experience psychosocial problems than healthy weight peers, mostly from stigma, teasing, and bullying. That information comes from a government agency, Adolescent Health, Medicine, and Therapeutics. But it does make sense. We were all kids once. Some of us had children of our own. I have a 10-year-old, for example. So I know firsthand how blunt and straightforward children can be without any regard for the feelings of others. And it's not difficult to see how this could affect an obese child's confidence level and self-image negatively. It could scar a child for life, for long-term mentally anyway. But the mental aspect of it is only part of the problem. It's the physiological dangers of childhood obesity that are most concerning. According to the Center of Disease Control, obesity is associated with an increased risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. And one of the scarier things is that those factors are likely to be more severe if obesity is carried from childhood into adulthood. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, that's a who's who of the top killers of human beings on this planet. So to consider that being obese as a child not only enhances the risk of these diseases, but it also makes the factors more severe is a very sobering thought. But enough of the scare tactics and negativity. Let's start to talk about what we can do to prevent the problem and how we can try to combat childhood obesity. The first thing that I would suggest is probably the most obvious: diet. You can't discuss stopping childhood obesity without having a conversation about the diet that ultimately causes it. Another stat from the CDC says that empty calories from added sugars and solid fats contribute to 40% of daily calories for children and adolescents aged 2 to 18 years old. That's a lot of empty calories, almost half of your daily calories. So it's not hard to see why childhood obesity rates have spiked over the years. And while diet habits have to start at home, there are ways we can improve children's eating habits away from home. Schools have the opportunity to not only teach children from a very young age what healthy eating is and the dangers of obesity, but it can also provide an environment and meals that promote healthy eating behaviors on the premises. It is said that a healthy body feeds a healthy mind. And if that's the case, the promotion of better eating habits in schools would seem to go hand in hand with each other. It is certainly time for schools to get more involved in this ever-growing obesity issue. And that may mean taking away longtime kid lunch favorites, like I'm looking at you, nachos and pizza. It may mean extracting vending machines from all public schools. This may require hiring a nutritionist to create it or oversee a healthy, balanced menu for an entire school district of all ages and all grades. Literature about healthy eating habits, how important they are, and the dangers of obesity could be circulated from teachers to students to parents in an effort to pass better dietary habits and knowledge on to the home front. These are just a few ideas to, at very least, kickstart a discussion about how to promote a healthier diet amongst children in Oklahoma. Another important way to fight childhood obesity is exercise. Any of us who have children are well aware of how active they're capable of being. So to think that children are not getting enough exercise and that's contributing to childhood obesity could be shocking to some. So then why aren't kids getting enough exercise? Well, the TV isn't helping. Statistics from Livestrong.com state that children ages 2 to 5 years old watch 32 hours of TV a week. Kids 6 to 8 years old spend 28 hours per week in front of the tube. And kids aged 8 to 18 spend 4.5 hours a day watching TV in various forms like the internet, regular television, or video games. That is a lot of TV. Kids just don't get out and run and play like they used to. Schools have cut back on recess time in elementary school, and physical education classes are not as mandatory as they once were. Children have fewer real-life, in-person role models who are active to follow as well. It seems that we as adults have become couch potatoes also. Organized sports enrollment has declined steadily also. A study by EngageSports.com shows that from 2009 to 2014, participation in 17 different sports tracked had dropped 9.09%, from 50.2 million to 45.7 million. 9.09% doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it adds up to 4.5 million kids. That's a pretty big number. When you add all that lack of exercise up, it paints a pretty clear picture. The youth of today is just less active than before, and it shows in the rising rates of childhood obesity. Having said all this, I'm not sure that one of these suggestions or any combination of these suggestions can truly fix the childhood obesity problem. But what I am absolutely sure of is that implementing some of them would be a step in the right direction. After all, and to quote Whitney Houston, the late great Whitney Houston, children are our future, and that is worth trying to save. Thank you.